Mr. President and members of the Federation of World Peace and Love, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I'm honored to have been invited to the third celebration of the International Day of Conscience, a day that allows all of us to stress our commitment to promote a culture of peace and love and conscience. Allow me to first congratulate the President and members of the Federation of World Peace and Love who have never flagged in their efforts to encourage greater solidarity as a prerequisite for peace, social cohesion and amity. Ladies and gentlemen, surprisingly enough, in the diverse conversations on freedom, emphasis is mostly placed on those related to speech, association, worship, and the like. Conversely, the narrative is rather subdued where the freedom of conscience is concerned. This is strange, given that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights itself prominently situates conscience in both Articles 1 and 18. Thus, Article 1 of the Universal Declaration reads, "All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act toward one another in a spirit of brotherhood." While the first line of Article 18 states, and I quote, "Everyone has a right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion." Today, more than ever, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to bring the issue of conscience at the very center of the table. There is no denying that there is in the world today an unhealthy spread of the shroud of negativism. Autarky is real today in some parts of the world. Dissenters, civil society activists and media people, amongst others, have always been anathema for the autocrats of the world. On the other hand, about 2.9 billion people are still waiting for their primary dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. We haven't as yet assuaged our conscience by ensuring equitable access to essential medicine and vaccines to developing countries. One wonders what is holding back the pharmaceutical giants and the World Trade Organization from waiving the intellectual property rights on COVID-19 vaccines as per the resolution proposed by India and South Africa. Indeed, we see a runaway increase of such and similar cases that are causing a widening gap between the rich North and the poor South. In his January address to the members of the diplomatic corps accredited to the Holy See, His Holiness Pope Francis drew attention to such crunchers as, amongst others, the issue of migrants and asylum seekers, the weakening of the multilateral systems in confronting global crises, armed conflicts in so many parts of the world, and the like. He made a plea for dialogue and fraternity. Ladies and gentlemen, dialogue and fraternity thrive when we develop within ourselves the capacity to feel for the other. Can our conscience look the other way? Can we blind ourselves completely to the atrocities sometimes carried out when basic human rights are being flouted and trampled upon? We must nurture a conscience that is humanity-centric, for it is conscience that stops us in our outtracks and forestalls the tendency to commit outrages against others. Conscience makes us draw a fine line in the sand, clearly acting as a gatekeeper, demonstrating what is permissible and what's not. It pays to have such a conscience that watches over our actions, that enables us not to cross the red line, that safeguards our humanity and raises a drawbridge that keeps us safe from insane actions. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been rightly stated that the foundation of conscience rests on such inalienable values as inclusion, solidarity, peace, and tolerance. Allow me to say, without sounding too nationalistic, this is a reality we live in Mauritius. Mauritius has had no indigenous population. As a land of immigrants from different parts of the world, we have grown to understand the importance for us to show unity in our diversity, to accept the differences of others, and to understand the value of tolerance. We realized long ago that exclusion and bigotry tend to stifle society's progress, that they disrupt all our efforts towards future sustainability. We love to say that Mauritius, as a multicultural, a multiracial society, has made of tolerance, of understanding, and of accommodation inalienable virtues and pathways for peaceful cohabitation and coexistence. And much of this has been the result of our emphasis on education. We believe that it is a supreme responsibility of our educational institutions to form the citizens of tomorrow, to live in amity, to develop in our youth the faculty of discernment, of separating the true from the false, of confuting harmful, damaging, and unwarranted misinformation and disinformation. Our youth should all be endowed with the faculty to rise above irrational bias, for this is cardinal to our democratic entity. Ladies and gentlemen, let me end by saying that our conscience becomes the yardstick by which we can measure our respect for others, our appreciation of the diversity for a peaceful coexistence. Conversely, if we really need to be vituperative, let us set our sights on the right targets. Thus, if we have to be intolerant, let's be intolerant of actions that we all decry and universally disparage. Let us be intolerant of actions that threaten our environment and our common and cherished planet Earth. Let's fight against forces that incite and institutionalize discrimination and exclusion. Let's develop a hive mind that does not blur our collective responsibility in favor of our personal freedom. Our conscience, the collective conscience of humanity, would then be at peace. Good luck to the Federation of World Peace and Love and all others who are engaged in such ventures. Thank you for your attention.